Welcome to She's Got Time presents the Space MakHER Series. I'm Swin Cash, and today we'll be spotlighting women who don't just take up space, they build it, they own it, and they make room for others to rise. These are the conversations around leadership, legacy, and what it means to be a space maker in today's world. Joining me today is Alexys Feaster, my girl.
Hey girl.
CEO of Kinship Advisors and newly partner in Visibility Media.
Right. You got it.
Welcome to the series.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, Swin.
Listen,
Girl.
you know I love you, and you have been just tearing it up. We talk about, obviously, women with careers in sports and leadership, but you have seen it on the sports side, on the entertainment side. And I have to start out at the top because you have a movie. Yes, y'all, my girl, Hoops, Hopes, and Dream.
I do.
Premiered at Sundance.
It did.
But now, tell us what's next for this movie.
First of all, thank you. I know that you are one of my biggest champions and cheerleaders. So anytime you call, you know I'm there. So I'm so excited to see you have this space for all of us. So thank you. But yeah, girl, I'm a producer now. So
come on. Talk about it.
You know, when you talk about creating space, someone created space for me to come in and bring my expertise and, you know, my love of the game and my love of creating impact and, you know, creating this film called Hoops, Hopes, and Dreams. It tells the untold story of how Dr. King played basketball before going into various cities and marching. And when you think about it, like, we act like Dr. King just came in and was like, hey, y'all follow me, and people came. No. The game was involved in that. So it's telling that story, telling the story of President Obama, telling the story of the NBA. And so what's next is we are going to be in Martha's Vineyard for the Martha's Vineyard Film Festival.
Come on.
We have a big announcement coming up about the acquisition of the film, which has happened with the best platform and partner that I could even imagine. So I'm not sure when this is going to be aired, but we'll tell you more about that.
We'll keep you guessing.
We'll keep you guessing for now. But very, very excited for the world to see the story.
And what people don't know about your background, and I'm glad you touched on it, is that you were in the sports realm. You were in the NBA, and you talk about creating these spaces, right? You've been in the community impact space, and someone made room for you on the entertainment side. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about what it looks like to advocate for someone to be able to create space or be a space maker.
I love that. I mean, you know, the reason why I wanted to lead with someone creating space in the film world is that's always been on my bucket list. And, you know I you and I bond over our faith and our religion and how we manifest things. And it was always something on my bucket list. But I think that God rewards, you know, reciprocity. Yes. And so I've always been a person that's created space for, you know, the people who I know and then those who I don't, you know, having conversations around women having a seat at the table. And in this particular instance, you know, someone looked at the roster and said, there's not a woman at this table, but also there's only one woman who's done all of these jobs and all of these roles. And so in each of those spaces, someone created space for me. I was with Leah Wilcox earlier.
Yes, and the OG,
the triple OG. Yes, the triple OG. And so Leah was someone who brought me into the NBA space when I worked for President Obama. And she said, you're doing something with the president that I think the NBA needs. Let me create the space for you to kind of slide in and provide resources and accessibility for athletes in the political realm. And then obviously, you know, women like you have done that for me throughout my entire sports career. So
listen, thank you. And the reason why I love your story is because it's always the pivot, right? Mm-hmm. It's having someone not only advocating, because a lot of times people say, I need a mentor. No, you need somebody that's in rooms, that's speaking your name, that's speaking about your skill set. And that's one of the reasons also for me why we created She's Got Time is because there's so many women that have these skill sets. And I think Dawn Staley said it best recently. She talked about going and interviewing for the next job. And she said, you know, I'm not getting that job right now, but I have enough information. So the next woman that's getting an interview, she needs to come holler at me.
Right.
And I think you've always been one of those women that if I have any information that I can give or bring you in, I'm going to do that. Where does that come from? Because there are some women that haven't been able to grasp that aspect of it yet.
Yeah.
So for you, where does it come from?
You know, just real quick before I answer where it comes from, you mentioned Dawn, and Dawn is someone else who created space for me that I just want to share. You know, we worked together all the time over the years, but she had the opportunity to do this podcast called Net Life with Dawn Staley, and I was the executive producer of that podcast. And I've never executive produced a podcast in my life. And to have Dawn be like, this is my girl, this is going to be the person that's going to allow me to have the type of guest that I want to have. We were number 5 on the sports category for Apple Podcast. And so I just want to shout out Dawn, because if it wasn't for Dawn saying, I feel comfortable enough having my girl EP, my first podcast. But to answer your question, where it comes from, I think it was, I've feel some of the stuff, I feel like we're kind of born with it. Like I've always had this kind of subconscious of just doing the right thing. Like many of us have, obviously we bond over that. But I think also it's, I believe in karma. Like I believe that if I'm not creating space, and obviously some of it backfires, I've created spaces, space for people, and I've then been fired from jobs, right? Like I've created, I've got all kinds of stories that's coming out in the book. I was like, how did I create space?
I want you to know that,
girl. I'm like, how I create space for you, and you over here trying to sabotage me. But right?
Look, we're gonna need a full podcast for that conversation.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, you edit that part out. But the reality is that you just continue to pour into others.
Yeah.
Like you continue to pour into others. And it's only benefited me in the long run, because I know I live with a good conscience when it comes to that kind of stuff. But also I want other people to win.
Yes.
We literally upstairs, I think I was telling you earlier, I was invited into a room and I look around and I'm like, the president of this team, the person who's the executive over here, it's literally a room full of the most powerful Black women in sports in this suite. And I'm walking in, like not even knowing who's going to be there. And we're saying we're creating space to surround ourselves around a particular woman who was in the room at the time, so that her network gets expanded, so that her opportunity gets expanded. And I find myself not only creating those spaces, but being invited into those spaces. And that's where I thrive the most. I love that.
Yes. And you are very intentional with not only your time, but your energy. And I love that. I love that, because a lot of times people who give so much, they forget that you pour so much into other people, and how do you make time for yourself? So I want you to kind of tell us, how do you make time for yourself? Because there are a lot of women who are like you, Lex, that give and pour till they're empty. And you are doing something phenomenal, I think, with the Kinship Advisors, and you're bringing women together, but you're also telling them, like, you got to take care of you.
Right.
So give us an example of like maybe something you do for yourself, or why it's important for these women who have careers in sports to do it for themselves.
Right. No, it's so true. And I think part of it is, at various times in my life, I've looked in the mirror and been disappointed in myself. I've looked in the mirror and seen that I've let my weight go at different times. I've looked in the mirror to see that I let my self-care go in various, perspectives, or that fill in the blank. I think we all have our own thing where you're like, hold up, girl, I'm not sleeping enough. I'm not doing this enough. My shoulders are a little too tense. I'm not getting enough massages. There's various things that happen, right? Where you're like, I'm not, putting my arms around myself. And I think for me...
Oh, and just by the way, anybody that's watching, we have a huge window over here. So there are people walking past and all the things, which I love here in Vegas. This is what we're shooting right now.
Exactly. And that was my colleague, Jeff. He's coming back now. He's coming back because that's my guy.
Yes.
Big support system.
Yes.
Right there. But no, so it's important. I think, I'll give a quick story around therapy. So I remember going into therapy the first time, several years ago, and she's saying, well, why are you here? And I said, well, I'm here because I want to talk about the fact that I'm in this male-dominated industry where oftentimes, we're all struggling. We're all resilient, right? So this is not a complaint. But I was, reflecting on myself, saying, why is it that I put up with this? I wasn't raised this way. I'm a G. I came from Southeast DC. I don't put up with being treated, any kind of way. And I started to get, again, disappointed in myself, right? It really comes back to me. So I go to her and I say, look, Miss Peggy. And Peggy was a little white lady. And I'm like, I don't know how Peggy's going to help me. But Peggy helped me. Peggy helped me. But no, it was amazing because she's like, well, you're here because you're trying to really reflect on your own boundaries and the standards that you uphold for yourself. And is your career more important than the way that you treat yourself or the way that you talk to yourself? The answer to that is no, of course. However, I have worked my butt off, and no circumstance should, sabotage that, even my own, right? Because we do so much self-sabotage by not taking care of ourselves. And so some examples of that, I created Kinship and named Kinship the name because it's all about building community. So of course we build community around professional athletes. We build community in a whole host of ways. But then I also do things like, as you know, start group chats, right? So when
she starts them, y'all.
I start a group chat, and they are good group chats, right? So I have a group chat now called In Jesus' Name that of course you're in. And so that is creating that's self-care for me. The reason why I created it is because I needed it. And I'm like, if I create this, and of course have the most powerful women in the industry in this group chat, and we talk about Jesus, and I feel like God then manifests and blesses us us even more because we're putting him at the center of it. But that's what it looks like. But full transparency, just to kind of put a bow on it, I'm still not doing the thing that has been in the back of my mind for 2 years, which is creating the retreats. So I've been talking about it. And so that is something that is coming soon, as you know, ladies, coming soon. But it's something that, I've been doing a lot of scouting of spaces. I built a home in South Florida where women come every quarter and we fellowship together. And so, I'm a work in progress too, just trying to keep the momentum around my own self-care.
And I love how you share, because a lot of times women will come on these podcasts and they give you the high level things that make you feel good. Sometimes y'all got to be comfortable knowing that this shit's kind of hard.
Right.
At times, you got to be comfortable to be uncomfortable.
Right.
And that's okay. Whatever season of life that you're in, just know that there are women who support you. There are groups that you can get to. There's tribes. She's Got Time. That's one of the reasons why we created it. But I want to just go back really quick for you, Lex, and talk about, what do you think right now? You talked about helping athletes like off the court and building. You help a lot of people off the court, not just athletes, but that's how you're attached to sports in some way. But what do you think is the future value-based leadership? Like, what is that going to look like?
It's a great question. I feel like knowing people like you, I'm able to literally watch what value-based leadership looks like. Like, you literally are embodying what it looks like. You're like coaching us in real time, because to be honest, like, value-based leadership, that's such a big, lofty goal, word, all of that, right? And I think that a lot of it is, seeing it in action. And She's Got Time is values-based leadership. It's going to look like you. It's going to look like this growing into the conglomerate that we all know that it's going to be. We're waiting on that. Like, we have time to support whatever it is that you're doing, because you are the values-based leader that we all look up to. So I look at it as you, to be honest. Like, I can't even, when you say the words, and I'm like, I see nothing but your face and the future of values-based leadership.
Now, didn't I tell you not to come on here and make me cry, girl?
You are it. You are it. And then you're going to then have all of us learning, and then we're going to create and have our own way of having values-based leadership. But like, are we not lucky to have you? That's the model of what that looks like. Because otherwise, I don't know what the definition is. I'm like, ChatGPT, values-based, like Swin. I just, and I'm grateful because you see the void and you see that we're struggling.
Yeah.
We really are. And you're filling that void for us. So thank you.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you, sis. But before I let you get out of here, I'm asking this question to everybody in the Space MakHER Series. What would you say to the younger Alexys about putting her on game of what it's really going to be like? Something that somebody didn't tell you that you would want to tell your younger self that's helping you right now.
Yeah. I always think about, I don't know if you guys know who Jay Brown is. Jay Brown, is Rihanna's manager and the owner of Roc Nation. He said something to me when I was in my mid-20s. I had a recording studio, and, my first, talent there was J. Cole recording his album there, right? And that was because of Jay-Z. But to get us there, I remember bringing him to the studio and saying, Jay, I know you don't need this because, you represent Jay-Z. So I'm sure you have studios all over the place. And he said, Lex, you, Jay Brown, and Don Stair are the only people that call me Lex, by the way. So like the three of y'all are in good company. He was like, don't you ever invite me into a space and tell me how you don't have value. Like, I invited him to see the space to give me feedback. And I was like, I know you don't need it. He was like, you automatically.
Say that again. Just 1 second. Say that again. Because a lot of times we do that. I actually found myself doing that sometimes.
Yeah. He does it all. Literally, they changed my life. He said, do not ever invite someone to a space and then immediately tell them how you don't have value. And I didn't think of it that way. I said, come check out my studio. It's dope. I want your feedback, to maybe introduce me to someone. Like, I didn't have any expectations of him. And he said, first of all, don't ever do that. And he said, what you have is something I've never seen before. Wow. It's something that I've never seen before. And then he proceeded to, I never had to market the studio. He gave me J. Cole, then he gave me Nas, then he gave me Nicki Minaj, then he gave me Snoop, and then Obama called, right? So but all of that was because of something that Jay Brown told me. So I would have told my younger self that even earlier, right? Because I would walk around, I still do this sometimes. I catch myself now, like, you can't possibly need what I'm thinking about, because it must have been thought of already, or it must have been created already. And that's not the case, because if it's not you creating it, and as Jay told me, he was like, your secret sauce, nobody else is doing that. I was in there making Nas eggs and breakfast and pancakes. And I was like, they kept coming back. They were like, we get to have a house and we get to make an album in a space that is safe. So, from that perspective, they're going to come and try to be distracting to us. But from that perspective,
Yes, there's always somebody walking by.
There's always the homies.
Always the homies. You know what? I appreciate you, sis. Again, for those of you listening to this Space MakHER series, keep in mind, we got to go out. We got to support our girl, Hoops, Hopes, and Dream.
Yes.
The movie is coming. The premiere has happened, and they will be out there on the vineyard.
Absolutely.
All right. So this is it. We're wrapping up Space MakHER series, presented by She's Got Time. And I want you all to know this. Whenever you walk into a room, you can build the floor, put up the walls, you can put up the roof, but you always should go in knowing you're going to create space and leave that door open for your sisters coming behind you.